Hey guys, what is up? This is Editor Will. Just coming to say that I apologize for the audio on my end. I did not realize that my settings for myself were so low, so it's gonna sound really quiet. So apologies in advance. Hope you enjoy it anyways, and thanks. Now on to the video, and we're doing it. All right,
Hey!
it's your boy Weeb Willis, because that's creative, right? And my buddy, um, do you what can I call you?
you can call me Brody. It's fine.
Okay, because I know some people are weird about it. But all right, we're doing this unnamed podcast about card games, and starting off, we're gonna be talking about Vanguard because that's hype with us right now. Because one person asked us if we played it, and it's just snowballed from there. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, as long as we're not talking about D. I mean, we're not going to talk about D, right?
Uh,
Right?
mm, mm, Perhaps. I would like to at least
Fuck!
we can, but not much. Um, but yeah, so we're gonna just very briefly, because we gotta milk content as true content creators. We gotta get into the spirit of milking everything for what it's worth. So this is
Because, as you know, everything is non-original nowadays.
yeah. What's creativity? Um, but
Is that
yeah,
thing that I took back from the government years ago? I don't know.
is that what's in Area 51? Creative ideas, original content. That it might be. Um,
Hmm.
but
Sus.
yeah, sus on Gov. Um, but this is hopefully an episode one of many. Um, so I guess let's just start with our first bullet point of our three. Um, getting into or returning to Vanguard, because we both started. You uh like much farther back than I did, but we both played Vanguard already, but now we're kind of just getting into it again.
Really getting back into it. Yep, welcome to
Yeah,
the hiatus portion of the thing, where
yeah,
things really do matter.
yeah. We we took a hiatus, but we didn't make a video about it. So was it really a hiatus?
I don't know, seems kind of sus.
Yeah, it sure do. But um, would you like to share how you got into slash returning to Vanguard,
Okay, so
would you like me to start?
no, I can start. Just to kind of give you some ideas to what I'm working with. So, it was shortly after the Vanguard anime came out, and I was proactively watching it on YouTube with the ads and everything, and it was all right. It wasn't until about the start of season 2, which is the Asia Circuit arc, that I really started getting into Vanguard as a whole. Mind you, I still remember the old season 1 format, because a few of my friends at the time, way back when, actually played season 1 format, and so I know the format very, very well, and I know a lot of the prominent archetypes and decks and stuff like that. But it wasn't until the first original Narukami structure that came out that featured Thunderbreak Dragon was when I really, say, hit it off. And then I played um, Vermilion for a bit. Then I switched over to Dungaree when that came out. God, it was a good deck. Still, it was pretty bad. And then ultimately, when I want to say when I got into Vanguard is when, just towards the end of season 2, came out, before Link Joker was released, was when, I want to say pretty much the more optimal time in Vanguard, at least in my time, was when you had Revengers, you had Tetra Drive Dragon, and then you had my boy that I had a fully maxed out rarity, Dragonic Descendant deck. The Eradicators were great. I loved the deck. I also played Tetra Drive because Tetra Drive was fun. It was not max rarity, but I did play it. Um, and I played on a small competitive scene in locals. I never have gone to any kind of events and stuff like that. And then I kind of took a hiatus from Vanguard for a decent amount of time through the Link Joker arc. And it wasn't until about halfway through G. Provided I still watched the anime and stuff, so I knew what a lot of cards did. I still follow pages, so I knew all the cards did. When Descendant got a reboot in terms of powers, because now then they had the stride skills and stuff like that. And I built that deck again, max ready, because Sigma was great. I loved that card. And I played it, and it was a great deck. I loved it. And then V happened. And then I played Royals for a small period of time, jumped to Kagero, where I had a near max rarity deck because at that time we had no idea when Narukami was coming out, and then lo and behold, a few months later Narukami was released, and then a few months later we ended up getting here in English, which then I proceeded to make a deck profile for both premium and the standard format at the time, which is also found on the TCG Buzz YouTube channel. You can Google it. It's like Broderick's Narukami decks. Mind you, they weren't the most optimized list, but they were fun, and I loved them to death. And then there was the drama with Bushy Road, and I kind of like left and didn't really have a locals to play with, because they were all playing meta sheep decks, and I was kind of tired of it, and all the degenerate first turn 3 kills, and I was done with it. And then Bushy Road decided to hit us with the ban list not so long ago at the time of this recording. And honestly fixed a lot of issues that both V Premium and Premium had, which makes them both extremely playable formats. And now I'm back to playing my OG clan Narukami, and it's been great.
Okay, I would like to add a short comment regarding the ban list and the new, like, kind of meta, air quotes on that, since it's not really defined. Depending
What's
on
a meta?
You might ask, depending on who you might ask, would you say that people have said that it is a slim meta?
So
no one listening to this probably doesn't know unless you're in the Vanguardians Facebook group.
Oh my god. So, in terms of a player who's gone to competitive events in the past, especially at the start of V, I've kind of come and seen decks come and go. I've seen power spiking at its finest, especially towards the end of G. And then they kind of like skyrocketed V, saying that they would never reboot the game, and they did, and power crept happened.
It feels bad.
Which was fixed. But in terms of the meta as of this current moment, I wouldn't say it's really slim. I mean, there is definitely a few decks that are higher in the tier list than others. Specifically, like Gold Paladins are still pretty strong. Even Luard right now is still pretty strong, despite the nerf with Bendy. They're still a really good deck. Narukami is still really, really good. And just many other ones, especially comes to like the Bermuda decks and stuff like that. They're all pretty good. But I wouldn't say like there's like a slim meta. I mean, you might have one or two good decks, but then there might be 4 or 5 other decks that just point blank counter those top 2 decks.
Yeah, I hope you understood the reference. Which hopefully we'll make another like part 2 on that. It's hot takes from a certain individual in our locals. But that will be later. That will be in a future thing once, stuff kind of gets settled in and stuff is like wrinkled out. But yeah, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of that meant nothing to me, because now here's my coming into Vanguard story. So, like, it was like 2017. It was like before the reboot happened, I think. Because but our friend Jacob, who is like the face of TCG Buzz, was like, hey, you should try Vanguard because they got me into Buddy Fight. And I was like, you know what, sure, why not? And he brought some decks over, and he was playing his, at the time, as good as it can be, Gold Paladin, or not Gold Paladin, Bluish Flames deck.
Which are Gold Paladins.
Yeah, but I guess, like, you know what I mean. But, and then I was playing a Shadow Paladin trial deck with, like, a few cards added to it. So, like, obviously, like, me not knowing what I'm doing, I was expecting to lose. But just when he's like, oh yeah, that's basically a precon with, like, a few rares and stuff added to it, and I was like, well. And anyways, it was really fun. I started watching the anime from, like, season 1. I kind of forgot about it, honestly, just because nobody was really playing it at the time, just because Buddy Fight was, like, the big thing. And then,
which I also played Buddy Fight at that time.
Yes. No, you didn't play Buddy Fight at that time, did you?
Yeah, I played Buddy Fight.
Like, wait, like, back then? Because that was, like, Triple D era.
Yeah, so I actually played Buddy Fight well before you guys got me into Ace. Provided it wasn't on such a, like, competitive scale or anything. And I didn't have a whole lot of people to play with. But yes, I did have Buddy Fight cards, and I did have a deck before you guys got me into Ace.
Oh, shit. Well, I did not know that. Because, like,
Yeah, that's why I picked up the rules, like, super fast, because I already knew what most of them were. It was just all the, like, the comprehensive rules and stuff like that I needed to learn.
Right, yeah. Right, but anyways, I played Royals. I picked up the Blaster Blade trial deck, in Standard or V Series at the time. And I played that. I bought, like, a bunch of set 1 and built it out. And then we kind of dipped out after set 1. We did a booster box war between Jacob and myself, and it was legendary. If you want to, you can go watch it on the TCG Buzz channel. Otherwise, TLDR, I pulled the, what was it? I think it was Tachikaze, was it? It was like this, like, ninja dude, SVR from A1, or, like, set 2, and then
it might be like Nubatama or...
Yeah, Nubatama, yeah. I couldn't remember, because I'm terrible with clan names. But, and then he pulled Phantom Blaster Dragon, SVR, immediately after. And it was super funny because he wanted to build Nubatama, and I wanted to build Shadow Paladins, just because, as someone who mains Darkness Dragon World, it just kind of went up my alley. But then we kind of just fell out of it. Like, the hype kind of died down. And then I didn't play it. Buddy Fight ended. Rip F's in chat.
Yeah, F boys.
And so I decided, I was like, I'll give Vanguard an honest shot. Like, I'll build a deck, I'll do the things, I'll call the units, I'll create force markers, and I decided that after looking into it, either Messiah or Luard were gonna be, like, the decks I played. Like, one of the two was gonna be my first deck. And I decided with Luard just because the toolboxiness and just, like, at, like, the V series Luard with, like, the force marker spam, it was, like, oppressive in terms of just constantly hitting big numbers over and over. And making 3 force markers a turn is crazy. But, anyways, I played that, and then it kind of, like, died down again. And now our friend asked if we wanted to play Vanguard, and we were all like, hell yeah, let's go. And now I'm building, like, 20 different decks, and my wallet hurts because of it.
Welcome to the life of Vanguard, where it steals your money.
Yeah. So, now that we have our character development out of the way, I would like to do a brief overview on the three formats, just to kind of give our thoughts on each. One, we'll talk about some more than others. I'm not.
You mean not a format, kind of a format, and by god dang, a good format.
Yes. I'll if you're a person of culture, you'll understand when I say there's only 3 Persona games, and that's kind of the same vein that we will be taking. There's only 2 formats to Vanguard, and it just sucks that they both get either. I think V gets biannual, or like twice a year it gets support, like every 6 months, and then yearly, like annual support.
All right, so I'm gonna stop you here. For those who are listening or watching or whatever, take this with a grain of salt. This is personal preference, kind of style of gameplay. Just because we say it, it doesn't mean it's 100% correct. This is just based on going on opinions and facts from stuff from previous experiences, and what's going on with news and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And I will preface as well, I have not played D or like any overdress. I want to try it, so I want to give it an honest shot, but everything I say, take with an even bigger grain of salt, just because I have no experience with it whatsoever. But I guess we'll start with D, and kind of work our way back, just because from what I've seen, D is like, at this point in time, the best starting point in terms of it's more simple, very cheap. Kind of like we were talking about before we started recording, the 2 decks I want to try, they're like $50-ish to build, like base rarity, which is very nice. It's very helpful. So it's like $60, including sleeves. But
which is, again, it's pretty affordable for a card game. If you're spending like $50-$60
right.
on a deck,
right,
you know,
yeah. It's
thumbs up.
Basically $1 a card, pretty much, because it's a 50 card deck. And then there's V Premium, where it's all the V series cards. Does it include D, or is it just V?
No, it's just V standard,
okay.
Or V Premium.
So V Premium is just all the V series cards, and then Premium is everything.
It's Toolbox the game.
Yeah, it's just Commander basically in terms of card pool. It's the biggest card pool, which I'll kind of talk about it right away. D series I think just doesn't mesh with Premium. I think there's, like, as far as I know, there's only one deck that uses a card from D, and that's Chaos Breaker, where certain people like tech in the prison. But like that's a whole, that's neither here or there. But so D, let's just talk about that one right away. You have more of an idea with it, so I'll let you kind of take the helm with that one.
Okay, so mind you, again, grain of salt. I haven't played much D. I have, whoever kept up with a lot of news. I've watched numerous things of gameplay on YouTube, and I've heard numerous complaints through several groups. And I know friends that personally play D format. And mind you, this is just based on going information. I don't think I will ever play D, but I know of D, and I know the meta, and I know how D functions very, very well. So I'm just gonna hit the nail on the head right away. Mind you, again, grain of salt. Bastion and Bruce have always been in like an individual format of their own. They've always been leagues far better than pretty much any other deck that it brings to the table. Mind you, when it comes to just the structure decks, and if you're just playing super casually or whatever, they're about the terms the same in power. But definitely for 3 sets now, not including the extra boosters, Bruce still remains to be the single-handedly best deck of the format. with Bastion close on his heels, and then maybe Valerina, or maybe not necessarily close, but still on the radar, and then everything else is you're playing D format, regardless if you're playing something like Orphist, or if you're playing something like Jail Lollies, or if you're playing something like Beast the deck featuring Destroy KO over Trigger.
See, I laugh only because the 2 Brant Gate decks you listed are the 2 decks I want to try for D. I want to build Orphist and like Seraph Snow or like Jailbait. So
It
like,
is Jailbait.
I'm just I feel so called out right now.
Yeah,
honestly,
you take your Jailbait.
It's not because the art. It helps. Trust me, it's a very good bonus. But I like the play style of like prison, like the kind of taking them and then making your opponents like pay for it to get their stuff back. But so I guess I'll give my 2 cents. It doesn't seem terrible. It's just like the ride deck is like a big gripe, but it also like I can see why people would like it because it gives you more deck space. Because you're just running one-ofs of your grade 1 and 2, as in they're in your ride deck, because from my understanding, they count towards your 50 card deck, but they're separate, right? Like, am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so it's like, oh, you start out with a 46 card deck, and then you just pitch a card to ride, so you're guaranteed your, like, target rides for each turn. But I don't like it in the sense that it makes deck building a little too easy, I guess, because like whether people want to say it or not, I don't know if people disagree with this. You have an optimal ride chain. Like it's just how it is. You have an optimal ride chain.
Welcome to non-archetypal synergy.
Yeah, like just you play a deck, there's specific ride targets, and like it's nice to have it guaranteed. So like I understand the appeal, but I don't know, I like the RNG-ness of it, because then you kind of have to have like a backup, so you have to like tweak or tune your deck to that sense. Like if I don't hit this grade 2, what's a good alternative that it can still like help me advance my game plan. But like deck building is a whole other topic for another potential video. But that, and this is a take only because the one experience I have with it proved my stance on it, and that is over triggers.
Whoa! Over triggers are fine, all right.
Over triggers are busted, man. And Brody knows what he did, because I had never played against an over trigger before, because like I said, the last deck I played was Luard when it came out. So I don't have any of over triggers. I know I need to get them for premium, but he won the first game of the night that we had, where we kind of all got back together and played for like hours until like 2 a.m. And
welcome to the Stoicheia. Yeah, welcome to the Stoicheia over trigger.
And I was just like, I'm not actually mad. Like it was all in good fun, but I was just like, I had this take, right? And it was really uneducated because I've never played with an over trigger. I never played against an over trigger. The one time I see an over trigger, it's proving my point, right?
Yeah.
It was very funny.
It's by all means, in terms of which deck you're playing in, I can definitely see them having an issue, especially when people are saying that they're broken and stuff like that. I wouldn't say they're broken, but they're definitely funny, in terms of like power. But like if you get it like in the first couple turns or something, depending on which over trigger you have, cool, you get a crit or something, but then that context, especially if you're only attacking once on the first couple turns, is that any real different than hitting a critical trigger at that point?
Right. Yeah. No.
I mean, yeah.
Like I'm aware that like what I like my take on it is like very uneducated and like ignorant because I'd never played against it. It was just like based on like what I've seen or like read from them. But like I'm sure they're fine, but I've just never played with them. So I can't give a for sure opinion on it, But I do like the artwork honestly with a few of the like the Orphis cards, like the card.
Oh yeah.
They look fantastic. Like
Bushiroad's new team that definitely did over. The one thing that they did do was they did the artwork and the effects pretty much spot on. Outside of the one or two outliers. Looking at you, bros.
Yeah, no. And honestly, one thing that I think is really cool is, like I said before, D is very cheap and budget friendly. So I think if you're wanting to get into Vanguard, start with, even if you're starting with a pre-con because they're like $5. But if you want to, if you have like $100, which I know is a lot, and so like buy a deck. Like just go on TCG Player, buy singles. It's super cheap, and like that, and this is including the over trigger, because like I want to build Orphist. The over trigger is like $10, and it's still like $50, like $50 and some change, for the deck. So budget friendly. So like if you want to try Vanguard, go with a trial deck, and then if you decide you want to build a deck, just do that because. But what I was saying is, what I was gonna say is, SPs are dirt cheap, because like your ride chain, you just need at least one, because they're like your 1 and 2 are just one ofs in your ride deck. So like for example, Jailbait or like Seraph Snow, the most expensive one is Seraph Snow. But that's because you run it as a 4 of, because it's your grade 3 and Persona Ride exists. I actually like Persona Ride. It's very cool. It's basically your
it's definitely like a break ride.
Your V series starters. Just you can do it more than once and then you get like the power boost.
Yep.
But I like the fact that you can SP out your ride chain. So like you can just, if you want to be that person, you can just be like, I'm Persona riding, but I'm keeping my SP on top. But
mad flex.
Yeah, like it just, I think that's really cool. But
honestly, it's a very cool mechanic, and the SPs were definitely easier to get thanks to Bushiroad's new team.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So let's move to V premium, or to me it's standard. I still like, I refer to it as D series, V series, and premium just because,
yeah, that's fair.
V premium.
Now V premium I have had much more experience with, and honestly it was a single-handed reason why I got back into Vanguard. Yeah, so I'm very familiar with V premium.
Right. I actually really like it. Like I know it's like there was like issues with it, like each set you had to build a new deck if you wanted to be like competitive. Just like for example, like Luard was, I think if I remember correctly, he was like tier 1, like best deck in the format at the time when he came out or something.
He was.
But that's like also because force markers. So like that's like basically where issues lied, I feel, is like decks, basically your deck had to abuse force marker generation. Like Gurgit and Percival, I think that was like the issue, is that it just, you gained so much advantage because you were making Excel 2 markers, so you were basically drawing 2 cards every time you used Gurgit and you called a Percival off
Yep.
of Gurgit, you draw.
That is entirely true.
So that like it's but I feel like Gold Paladins are just stupid good because Excel 2 exists.
Excel 2 in general just makes any
Yeah.
Excel deck super good.
Yeah, Excel is just really good. But like V Series I'm really enjoying. I like the fact that basically, well, not basically, all decks you can make premium by, at the bare minimum, throwing in a G zone. Like just going on TCG Player, buying 16 stride grade 4s, and it's a premium deck. You don't even have to buy a G zone for it if you
That is
really
correct.
want to. And I think that's really cool because it, like, you're buying your deck and it instantly, like, not financially, but it doubles in value because maybe like your locals has, like, at the time, like, you know, when it was just standard and premium, it had 2 different days, one for premium, one for standard. You could bring it both times. Granted, you probably wouldn't do very well on premium because striding, but
Yep.
you get what I'm saying. And I like the what I'm about to say applies to premium once we get to that one. I like the added depth to it where it's like complex and like combos and like doing stuff, but it kind of suffers, not like, it's like suffers with air quotes from like what happened to Ace, because power creep with generically good cards for the clan. Like,
Yep.
Granted, I think the least offensive offender is the grade 1s that check top 5 for a grade 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a really good thing. Like, I think that's good just because it's like consistency. But I like that. It just kind of feels bad because right now I'm trying to build some decks and you run it at 4 usually.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, for obvious reasons, they're like $10 a copy, but I mean, I understand why. But I do
for
like,
sure.
I don't know what the popular what the main consensus is, but I really do enjoy the markers, like the imaginary gifts.
I love the imaginary gifts. There are some better than others,
right?
for sure.
You don't, there's only 5 gifts, by the way, in case you didn't know.
5?
Because Protect 2 is like a made-up one.
Whoa! That's not the case. There are certain decks that can handle Protect 2. Some better than others, but yeah, for the most part, Protect 2 is.
I think that one is like, and this again, a lot of this just spirals, but I think for Protect 2 is no, actually, I think the worst one, and this is air quotes, is Excel 1, just because Excel 2 exists.
It's
Like,
really hard
you know
to argue, but
like,
yeah, I can't remember the last time me playing an Excel deck that I honestly just went Excel 1. I can't
like,
remember the
Excel
last
is
time.
Like, Excel is really good still. Don't get me wrong. But being able to just ride grade 3 and draw a card, plus adding another rearguard circle, like, you can't, it's hard to like argue a case where you'd use Excel 1.
I mean, I can see several decks that I personally would play. Unfortunately, one of them got hit with the restriction list, and it's pretty much no longer playable. And their first really good stride is just instantly just super banned. So the Protect 2 is looking less and less viable. Mind you, you probably still could play it to some capacity, but it just doesn't give like the home run
more
feeling.
Playable than Excel 1.
Yeah, it's still
just,
more playable than Excel
again,
1, which is sad to say that.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, there's only 4 markers,
Yeah.
but the actuality is probably 5.
Yeah, there's 5. Honestly, I would love to do a very quick tier list, so we'll do that. Tier list S tier, I think is Excel. Excel 2 is probably the best marker.
Oh my god, yeah, just hands down.
Second best, like A tier, or just not. We're not gonna do an actual tier list, but we'll just rank them. So number 1, Excel 2. Number 2, I think Force 1, maybe, or like, yeah, Force 1.
Yeah, Force 1, probably following Protect 1.
Yep.
But the reason why I'm saying Protect 1 is because it's always nice to have a PG, and a lot of decks
Right.
could just have a PG, whenever. That's just how it is. Then obviously we're gonna follow that up with Force 2, because Force 2 decks are really good. But more than enough times you have to be in the right situation.
I think
there are definitely a lot of decks that can handle the Force 2, but you have to have like a good setup. You know, you're not just gonna be like sitting on a 13k base with no board and a Force 2. It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna do it.
Right, yeah. I think the one deck I can think of that uses it is Messiah, just because of the vocal golds. I think that's how you say it, but the grade 4 from V. And it's locking. It gives, like, you can just pass power around, so you can just really take advantage of that base 2 crit.
Yeah, that's really good. Dimension Police is another clan that can handle the Force 2, because they naturally just have big numbers. So they don't really need to worry about giving the additional 10k with the Force 1. I mean, most of the times, it ultimately depends if you're going first or second. Because if you're going first and you ride something like a Die Liner or something, you're naturally going to get 20k attack once you reveal the grade 3, because we all know it's going to happen, because you're playing DP. Welcome to grade 3 of the deck. So you're sitting there like, I could go Force 2 here, get an additional crit on top of the crit that Die Liner's going to give you, so you're already sitting on a 3 crit attack. And you're definitely going to either rip cards out of your opponent's hands because they're going to guard not wanting to die, or you're going to put them in a really bad spot for when you actually are ready to threaten lethal.
Yeah, and then after that, obviously, there's only one other option, because there's only 5. Protect 2. I don't remember what Protect 2 does off the top of my head.
So you place it in a circle, kind of just like your normal Force marker, except it gives the unit 5k power during either player's turn, which is great. And then it gives the unit 10k shield, provided they still have to have the ability to intercept and stuff like that to officially using it. But turning something that's like a 5k unit into a 15k shield is pretty good, or turning like a 10k grade 2, or if you're one of those people that still play the 15k shield grade 2s, you could turn it potentially into 20k, 25k, 30k, depending on, if you can, like, Protect 2 spam and stuff like that. Just ultimately depends.
Right, yeah. And then I guess we'll be nice and include it in all the way in. We'll give this one a letter tier, an F tier, Excel 1. But it's literally only because Excel 2 exists and it draws a card. So
yeah. I guess in some matchups, especially if you're really worrying about it, you're playing like an Excel deck or something, and you're playing against like a Force deck or something that can like do it, and you're playing lower power value, you might use Excel 1, but for the most part, if you're playing like any good Excel deck, you're probably going to be going Force or Excel 2, getting the additional circle, and you're drawing your card, which typically is like a 99% better opportunity than
just getting
Excel
like
1.
even if it's only I think Excel 2 gives plus 5k, right? I'm just looking it up now. Excel 1 gives plus 10k, but I mean, I would gladly take the 5k less for the draw.
To draw a card, yeah. The drawing just can easily fix broken hands. I mean, it seemed like it, but like one draw can change the outcome of the game from being, oh, this hand's absolutely playable, to, oh my god, this hand is absolutely playable.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I love the imaginary gifts. I think it just adds like some like thinking to it, especially because you typically just include both versions unless you're playing Excel decks. But this is just us simping over Excel 2 for very valid reasons. But yeah, I like the premium a lot.
Honestly, there's a lot of people, especially that are getting back into the game, especially now that the ban list has fixed a lot of major issues in both formats. Both major formats, because D apparently didn't get touched and nobody cares.
Right, yeah.
Sad.
I think it's just because it's still quite new. I think they're just going to be releasing set 3 though, right?
Yeah, set 3 is coming out.
I mean,
it might even be out by the time this goes out.
Right, yeah. If by the time set 3 comes out and everything, like, give it time for stuff to, like, settle and adjust. If Bruce and I forget the other one, Bastion are still, like, overwhelming the competitive scene, I think that's when they'll hit stuff. Just because
honestly,
we've had
Bastion, Regal, and the new grade 2 that works in tandem with Renard. It's just Bastion Regal just gives you more aggressive things that Bastion didn't already need. And then the new grade 2 that works with Renard is like, oh cool, you either call rear guards and get punished for it, or you don't call rear guards and you still get punished for it. It's like it's a lose-lose situation.
Right, yeah. But now we'll move on to I think the one that has the most
elephant in the
talking
room
points, premium. I think premium is my favorite format, but that's like ever so slightly above V. Like and it's 100% because the stride like mechanic.
The ability to discard any number of great units being some of grade 3 or greater to put a temporary big unit with a powerful skill on board is just like, really good. Kind
of like a better impact monster, but impact monsters are kind of balanced just because they stick around. But that's also a different game.
What's an impact monster? I mean, I only ever played first or go second decks.
Impacts exist only now.
Honestly, I can't remember the last time I actually played an impact in a deck. I was gonna play one, and then it immediately got banned. To be fair, the Thor one was extremely busted.
Yeah, I think the only deck that's competitive that plays them, correct me if I'm wrong, is Ball Soleil / Sun Dragons, because there's Sun Dragons, which is Impact's monster spam, no, Zeta exists, and that's literally just Impact monster the deck.
Demonic Dragons, especially if you're playing the OTK variant, which again Jacob piloted at regionals and was literally like the talk of the entire event. You're like, hey, did you guys see that Demonic Dragons list?
Hashtag
he just FTK OTK just out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, that one was spicy because like he
incredibly spicy.
He refined it, but I'm taking credit for that because I just whipped it up in like 5 minutes. I was like, it says dragon, throw it in Ein. Because I was trying to make Ein work for something at the time. And but anyways, premium striding is really cool. It adds more depth and complexity just because it's a 16 card extra deck. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh's but better, just because
you have offensive and like defensive options.
Strong. Well, yeah,
unlike Yu-Gi-Oh. Imagine if Yu-Gi-Oh had like a synchro monster or something that could be like synchro summon during your opponent's turn and did something not necessarily disruptive, but something that lets you live, like either give power or gain the ability to do like half damage or something along that line.
Right. No, like it's the strides have more powerful effects, but they're balanced because they leave at the end of the turn. So they do a big, really impactful thing, but then they're gone. which
Mm-hmm.
I like, because then you can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna sit here and then, hit the one
Oh yeah,
stride,
for sure.
and then
It
if
all
you have
determines on the power, honestly. That's what I'm gonna say with the strides is like, strides are really, really good, both in the G Guardians. If they don't do something incredibly stupidly broken,
Mhm.
the new Adaio needed to go. That card was insanely good, for literally no reason. Again, as much as I hated the Gasti Diamos, that needed to go. It literally caused all kinds of degenerate FTKs and OTKs, and um it became that one stride, the deck, and no other card was pretty much playable.
Right.
And just a bunch of other strides. I mean, I'm not sure if I remember a few years ago, but Katrina was literally the meta for good solid 8 months before Bushiroad finally did something. It was like, okay, maybe we let this go on for too long.
Mm-hmm. And like it's probably really late to say this, but I don't have much knowledge in the premium format, just because I barely played V series a lot,
Mm-hmm.
as is, and I've only recently took interest in Luard for premium, and after this we'll probably talk about another deck I'm playing,
But just in terms of like to give you like an optimization. So in the last couple years we've had the premium collection, which have been
Mhm.
premium support essentially for everyone. They've the 2019. Each of them came with typically one stride, um, and then like one crit, and then some reprints. They did like the grade
Mhm.
3 searchers and stuff like that. Just to give you like a generalized like impact of what we're looking at. So I'm gonna kind of give you like a quick demonstration because you're still new to this. The next set would be, hang on, I'm like pulling out my little cheat sheet here.
Mhm. No worries. That's what I've been doing when I look up stuff when I'm talking about it.
Untainted Holy Damsel Green Katarina was the Neonectar stride that we got in 2019.
Mhm.
And for good solid 8 months. That's everyone was playing this card. Everybody. Until they were like, oh, maybe we messed up.
Right.
And then in terms of where is it? Okay. Here we go. We'll kind of give you like a generalized thing. So Green Katarina said, one place on Vanguard Circle, you turn a card in G-Zone, turn it face up. Call up to the same number of plant tokens as the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone to Vanguard Circle. And this unit gets, all units get plant tokens, get plus 10k power until the end of turn. For reference, the plant tokens are just 5k grade zeros that can boost and stuff like that. So essentially what you do is you generate you get 4 plant tokens. You don't bother calling any regards. But then you ride Katarina and you get an additional one because you're going to have one card face up in the G zone. So you're going to have 5 plant tokens, and they're all going to be 15k power because they're 5k and they're going to get 10k off of Katarina. So they're all going to be 30k columns. You have 30k column swing here, 30k column swing here, and then your Vanguard's going to be boosted for like 15 plus whatever Katarina is. Typically, going to be like 13k base. So 28 plus your traditional 15. So you're probably going to be like 30. You're probably going to be like 43 power. But the reason why this was broken: when this unit attacks, search your deck up to the same number of cards. It's the same number of plant tokens. Call them to rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. This card had absolutely no cost. Allowed you to get big columns by themselves, and allows you to search your deck for any number of cards as your plant tokens, and you were always going to have 5. So you just searched your deck for 5 free cards and call them to rearguard circle. Okay. For literally no cost.
Right, yeah.
And people played this in 4 in every Neonectar deck.
Right, it makes
They
sense.
would just play plant token spam, and then it would kill you before you even got to stride.
Mm-hmm.
How gross it was. And then the team switch out, and this is what the 2020 premium collection won. Mind you, this is still a step down in terms of power. It's still strong, but it's not broken. So enticing Flower Princess Sandrine, when this in your G zone, so this has effect in the G zone while she's face down. If this card is face down and you and your opponent are grade 3 or greater, you cannot blast 1. You retire 2 token units. You can stride this onto your Vanguard circle, and it gets 10k power and +1 crit until the end of turn. That's all it does.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you and your opponent both have to be at grade 3 is the restriction. You have to counterblast 1, and then you eat 2 tokens, which, mind you, if you're playing New Nectar, isn't too hard of a cost.
Right.
But the fact that it's not free, it's a boost only until the end of turn, and it doesn't just fill your board for no reason.
Right.
Mind you, this card wasn't necessarily good for just plant-based, New Nectar decks. This was more meant to be, like, support for the new Asha revamp that came out with the next stage booster. This was just kind of like the stride that was meant to work in tandem with the new Asha, who made Asha fairy tokens. And she kind of functioned like the newer Asha before the Blue Flower Princess Asha, or I can't remember her name, came out. Which was, all my units are now Asha, they get these effects. So then it was like, your Asha fairy token became Asha. Technically, Sandrine became Asha's name because of the way that Stride Heart works. It was more meant to work with her specifically than any plant generation deck that Neo Nectar had to offer, and there was many of them, and could just blow you out of the game before you even got to play the game.
Right.
And this happened for 8 months. There was literally no other deck in competition with this deck. It was just everyone was playing Neo Nectar. All the cards are super expensive, and that's all the format was. And that's when I took my hiatus. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
See, and this is where I would just insert the gif of, wow, that's rough, buddy. See, look,
but like there's a difference between good card balancing, like Sandrine offered, and just straight up being broken for no reason and getting banned Katarina.
Right, yeah.
Strides are good in good context.
Right, yeah. No, and like I do like I like the complexity. I don't really like the fact, but I understand why. I don't care for that you have to stride immediately, but I get why, because otherwise it would be a little too broken, because you could do all your shenanigans with your grade 3 and then just continue your main phase with after you stride, so that you're just gaining like stupid value or doing stupid shenanigans. So like I get why, but like I do like how it gets progressively more complex with each format. So like you start out in D, you learn the basics, you feel confident in like how the game works, and you want something a little more. You switch to V Premium, where you have like a lot more variety in decks, just because it's an older format, and they squeezed a bunch of they rebooted like a bunch of decks. I don't think they rebooted everything because there's so much, but they rebooted a bunch of options to choose from in V. And then if you want even more complexity and depth, you can go to Premium, where you just bring your V Series deck, maybe buy a few staples for Premium, and then a G Zone in your set.
And there are more than enough decks, especially where you can just take your V Premium deck, slap, $40-50 bucks into a G Zone. If you're not playing the Xerath Dragons, and then if you're playing the Xerath Dragons, thank God they got reprinted, so they're a little bit cheaper now. You can still spend like $70, and you can turn literally probably a V Premium deck into a Premium deck just by slapping it.
And there are some decks where I feel you have to spend a bunch of money on them. Like when I first was planning to build Luard in Premium, like buy the Luard Premium package, like as in like the G Zone, Morfessa didn't get reprinted, and it was like $20 a copy or something. So like,
I mean, I know that feeling. Great Nature's one of their best cards is Cran Tiger, who is a grade 2 that literally says when an attack is boosts, you get to counterblast 1. You get to give a unit 4K, but then that unit restands, and then at the end of the turn you retire it. Welcome to Great Nature, where all your retiring skills are going to go off on one card, and you're going to gain insane value off of retiring that unit.
Right.
But it was only ever printed as a double rare in one set. And for the longest time, it was like $15 plus per copy. And congrats, you were playing Great Nature, you needed 4 of it. And the problem is, there was never ever, hardly ever 4 copies on the market because of how rare it was and how much people actually wanted the card.
Right, yeah.
But now they got reprinted into the Revival Collection, which just came out within the last couple months here. And got reprinted, and now the card's like $2 or $3 last time I checked.
Right, and that's very nice. Like, for example, Morfessa, Drago Principle, the Stride. It was like $20, like I said. I just ordered a playset just to have 4, because I like having a playset of stuff just for like playtesting, like feeling out ratios and stuff. $1.99 a pop.
Yep.
Like, in the course of like a few days that they were like chilling in my cart till I could afford to buy them, they went down in price a lot, and because they were like $2.50, then it was like $2, then it was like $1.50, and then 99 cents, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go. And it felt really good. But so like,
to be fair, welcome to the ban list and why Bendy was banned for a reason.
Yeah, and it's like a lot easier now, just because I think they're making very good reprints. There's a card I want reprinted. You probably know where I'm going with this because I've been talking a lot about it in our group chat.
Yep.
But from what our friend Tanner said, apologize if he doesn't want me name dropping, but our friend Tanner said that it's probably hype, that because of like a certain card being banned, Zinc, for Chaos Breaker. But
yep.
Chaos Breaker Close is like is 23 plus a copy right now, and I know Tanner was saying he got them for 8. I don't know how long ago that was, but right now they're 23 plus, and they're selling for that. And he's like a 3/4 of, just because he's your discard fodder for Stride. And it's just kind of rough because I have the V Series Chaos Breaker coming in. I got my Chaos Breaker Crisis in just because he at the time was he's like a budget alternative, just because he's playable. But it just feels rough, so I mean, hopefully they reprint it. But I think the most expensive Stride for that is like $10 a copy, I think, and that's without going into like Glendios, I think it was, where he's like 25 a copy, but he's more of just like a 1 of, I think, in the list that I've seen, he's like a 1 or 2 of. But,
for sure.
Anyways, like I like how like they're making very good reprints, and that's something like I liked. I wish they could have done with Buddy Fight, but also when they did it, I didn't like it because I just went for the original print anyways, because I'm like weird, like I'm like anal about that.
Reprints have to be like in a specific time and a specific place.
Yeah, well, just sometimes they just redo the artwork and make it like a full art. Like, for example, Miracle Fighters, the card got like a full art alternate art, which is really cool. I like it. But I got 1 copy just for collective. And I only used the original set versions in my Electro Deity deck. So like, but like, I think the only reason I like reprints in this, because it's usually a rarity bump. Like, for example, Blast Monk. I ordered the triple rare version, and same with what is it? Crunching Deleter, Barwall. It's a triple rare for the reprint, so I got that as a triple rare just because it's shiny, and so I do appreciate that. For Vanguard, just because I'm a little less picky because they keep the same artwork. But kind of this is like a kind of topic I'd like to like transition into our final topic. Like for between like premium and V premium, I like how 99% of the time, most decks you can slap a G zone and it's fine. It's playable. It's probably not great, but it works.
Yep.
And I think that's really cool because it makes the transition into premium a lot smoother, because you don't, unlike from D series to V premium, you don't have to build an entire new deck. Like you just, at most, or at the very least, you don't have to build something from scratch.
Yep.
You just buy like maybe 30 cards. That's probably too much because you play a lot of your V series stuff just because its effects compared to the original card is better or like more efficient, because costs are a lot cheaper from what I've seen for V cards.
Yep.
So like you're just, you know, playing like, I think you still play a lot of stride fodders, like your crit triggers that you can
Yep, our discarded is grade 3. Yep.
So I think that's like the most, not, I wouldn't say most important, because usually you end up like replacing your grade 3 lineup or adding in a G series or G era grade 3, just because it synergizes with your strides a little more, especially like Dragfall Luard, because you know that it strides for free. But I would like to say is the 1%, which it's the one example that I personally can think of. I don't know if there's any others that are like this. Chaos Breaker Dragon, I think you can play it in V Premium perfectly fine, but I think it's at its best, and it just does what it does, but better in Premium because of strides. I think the strides make the deck even better, which it's the case for most, but I feel it's just like I don't really know how to explain fully what I'm saying. So I hope if you're listening and Brody, you understand kind of where I'm going. Like,
no, I know exactly where you're going.
Because Chaos Breaker close and like the strides exist. So I think that's one. I can't, like, do you know of any decks that you feel like they do good, like, but having a G zone just takes it to like a much better level? Because like I know, like I said, that's basically every deck. So
I'm gonna give an example. And feel free to roast me in the comments, but Big Belly. Big Belly's always been like one of those really good decks. Like in standard, like V Premium specifically, I mean the card is great. You know, you can do a lot of retiring and stuff like that, and drawing a million cards. But like without an actual functionality of what the deck can actually do, it doesn't really do anything by itself. Mind you, getting 10 card, having 10 plus cards in your hand at the end of each turn, is pretty good and shit like that. But like it's not anything in terms of like super broken. Kind of like,
yeah. Because
so Big Belly is like, especially in standard, they just kind of do their draw thing and they don't really hit super big numbers or anything, but they can multi-attack and that's fine. But in Premium, you have access to things like Kran's Tigers, which can like restand your stuff. And then you have access to things like Balar Owl, which could give all your stuff like super big numbers, or the Stride that allows you to either give 10k to a unit or get additional trap check by milling 4 cards, depending on which comes up, which is kind of like their lottery mechanic. So like standard by himself is great, a great format. I absolutely loved it. Actually, our friend Speed Robo, from the Speed Robo YouTube channel, who plays Highlander, has told me several times that like it's like Vanguard is not really that super great of a game, but mind you, a good game of V Premium gets me going every now and again. And I 100% agree with that. It's like V Premium is a good format. mind you, is it my format? No, I just love premium, and I love the interactions that you can do both offensively, defensively. And like you can be sitting across the table from each other doing the mirror match, but your deck could be completely different, which is why I love them so much.
Right. Yeah, like it's like basically like common sense, like it's unanimously agreed, but like most, like all the decks in V Premium were designed to basically do what the deck did with strides, but without the strides. I think a really good example of that, like the two big examples of that are Chrono Jet, I feel. I don't know if that's accurate, correct me if I'm wrong, and Luard. Because Chrono Jet literally strides, because it's like it forces you to discard the 3 and then like a grade up to grade or equal to 3, and then Luard does its stride for free mechanic. And they're the ones that especially Luard can take advantage of like recurring strides, like soul blasting your drag driver and then being able to spin it back to the deck. And I think those two are like big, really good examples of striding without having a stride, like a G zone.
Yeah, and there are definitely some decks that do that. As you mentioned, Luard does it really, really well. I haven't really played Aquaforce since the days of Tetra Drive. But when Thavis got a reboot, and then the fact that you could like mini stride into Lambros, and like the new Thavis effects are all about like resting your rear guards and then striding into Lambros, and then Lambros being able to untap everything. It's really freaking cool. And I love that.
Yeah, and like V Series Luard is kind of like what I would love striding to be. I think that's why I have that opinion, because you do his first skill to retire 2 units to draw a card and retire an opponent's rear guard, and then you can do that. Like you can keep your like keep doing your combos, and then you can go into drag driver Luard and just keep going from like finish your main phase up after and your stride.
Yeah, there are definitely units like that where you can keep doing your plays without having to miss your stride step, because there are definitely some decks that are just like, oh, do I do my combo or do I stride? And if you don't stride, it seems like sometimes you get punished. But meanwhile, if you go to things like Royals or Shadows, they have Chainranker Dragon and the Royal Paladin one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're both essentially the same thing. They copy the heart name and gain all their effects. Narukami has their Stunverse Dragon, which is going to have some really cool implications with the new Eradicator Vowing Sword Dragon when he comes out in V Collection. Like he's going to have some interactions with that, and he'll still be able to do his normal standard combo while still being able to flip a card in the G zone, so you can still get your plays off. And there are other decks that have very similar abilities. Granblue, they have access to their ghost ship. He literally calls a grade 3 from the drop zone during your battle phase. You can just place your Night Rose straight from your drop zone, straight on a Vanguard circle, and congrats, now you have the standard combo all over again.
Right.
I think every clan needs something like that, where you can still do either like your standard combo or your premium combo without like missing the target mark. But I don't think they need to be broken. Again, I'm going to go back to the ghost ship for Granblue. I think that's a great card. It's not super broken, still allows you to do your plays. You get your imaginary gift, whether Protect 1 or Protect 2. Obviously, if you're playing Night Rush, you're probably going to Protect 1, so you don't die. Where you just call a grade 3 from drop zone and ride it. That's not super broken. You still get your advantage by your twin drive and stuff like that. There's a cost. You still have to discard 2 cards. and it's at the end of the battle. So you have to have a grade 3 in the drop zone to begin with to even activate its effect. But it's not like locked behind GB or anything. There's still a cost, but not a cost. Stoneverse Dragon, the same thing. You counterblast one, you return him, and you bind 4 cards on their field and 4 on their drop. I mean, for every 4 cards bound, you draw one, and your opponent binds one from their hand. If they don't have anything on rear guard, that's one less card they have to rip out of your hand in one thing. And if they're not playing like a deck that discards heavily or something, then you bind 1 or 2 cards, and then that's it. That's the gameplay. It happens. Right. And even in premium, the biggest thing in a Grand Blue matchup is if your stuff gets bound because of Narukami or something like that, you think you're in trouble. But no, there's actually a card in D that literally says, I think you like retire it, and then you take all cards in your binds and you put them into your drop zone.
Ooh, interesting.
So it gets you out of that Thunderstrike, which is Narukami's mechanic, out of the Thunderstruck range. It allows you to still keep using your resource pieces and stuff like that. And that's not just the only deck that has access to doing it. And it's any of the decks. So Great Nature can use it. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank of all the Zoo Nation decks can use it. Grand Blue can use it. Great Nature can use it. I don't know. I'm having a hard time figuring out all the other clan names. But you get the idea. It's like it's not locked behind one specific deck that can use it.
Right.
And that's why some of these really cool D cards that are unique and interesting mechanics have implications in other formats. Like just the other day, I saw a list that was actually by Robbie Cole doing his Nova Grappler list using Beast Deities. He was his partner, Goomba, was playing the prison set spell to get additional soul. And that still had implications in Chaos even too, which is kind of cool.
Right. That I've seen a few lists where they had the prison in there.
So yeah, it's a very unique thing, and it shows you even D cards can be produced right and still not be like super broken, but still fulfill their purposes in other formats.
Right. And yeah, that's one thing that like, it's like separate, like you don't really use anything in any other format, but it still has like, there's like those few cards or few decks that can use the stuff, but it's just more times than not used, which I think kind of helps that it's self-contained, but also kind of sucks because if D series dies as a format, you really like, you can't really do much with them to mix it in. Like you just kind of have to like start like a locals like casual like tournaments and stuff. But yeah, no, that like I said, like premium's probably my favorite, but it's just ever so slightly edging out V premium. D series is like my least favorite, but I also haven't played it yet. I do plan on building Orphist and Seraph Snow, because those two just kind of seem like decks that are up my alley.
Let's just play. You're just a degenerate chaos player. That's all you're just like your Link Joker.
I know, I love Link Joker. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Luard. It's probably my favorite deck. But Link Joker's playstyle probably vibes with me more. I don't know if you'd agree or disagree, but that just kind of fits my buddy fight playstyle. Like, that's what I compare
that's
every
about
other...
right. Still doesn't mean I can't give you crap for it.
Right, exactly. I'm a filthy alternate WinCon deck player. Like, my first deck was a mill deck in buddy fight. I bought the Black Dragon.
To be fair, I love mill decks in general, but I will never...
I don't care.
I am not an alternate WinCon player. I will win legitly.
I love a good solitary. I love a good game of solitaire with Curse Dragons.
Solitaire.
My most interactive deck is um Drago Phantom Thief in Buddy Fight.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
because I'm nosy, let me check the top 4 every turn. Oh, you're deciding to go into attack phase? Oh, let me pay a gauge and draw a card, and let me check the top 4 of your cards and basically remove them from the game.
To be fair,
So
it was all
it's
fun
an
and
honorary
games,
mill
and
deck.
at first when Mystic Knights and Meanwhile did our Magic World Mirror match when he was playing Phantom Thieves and I was playing Mystic Knights, it was all a really sad day. And then
Because
Mystic
I
Knights
kept
got
hitting.
one card, and it made Phantom Thieves a very sad deck.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
sucks.
because we did it again after the Mystic Knights got their set spell, and you were just really sad. So I didn't care the fact that you were just milling my stuff. I just
Right.
turboed into Lost World, and I just played my set spell, so you just couldn't rest my stuff.
Right. And honestly, we could do, like, I would like to do another, like, episode of Buddy Fight, just because I have a lot to say about that as well.
Buddy Fight in general is just a great game. I'm really sad that they didn't do it. I'm kind of sad, like the Koreans or whatever, the Taiwan, I know, took over a bit of Buddy Fight for a bit there. And
I think they're
revamped some of the support.
but they're also they're still catching up though.
Yeah, I mean, but they also have a lot of support that we don't have here in the States, and it's like, oh, that'd be really cool to have, or bring it back. And I think Bushiroad, especially with their new team. I know that they said it ended, but I think they could get away with doing Buddy Fight. Buddy Fight was very profitable for them.
It was it was really starting to gain traction when they canceled it, which is why it's so unfortunate, because it was always kind of like the little.
It definitely had power spike issues, but again, that was also the fault of their old team. Vanguard suffered the same issue, especially when they decided that they were gonna reboot the game again. But ever since then, outside of Bruce and Bastion, they've done an absolutely fantastic job. The overtriggers are good, but they're not like super broken in my personal opinion. I mean, yeah, being able to draw an additional card and a crit and a heal is pretty decent in a card, and I know some of the other ones do, like gives your Vanguard like 10k power and crit for like the duration of the fight and stuff like that. But like, I'm not saying that they're not strong, but they're not broken by any means. So I think they could easily pick up Buddy Fight again and say, hey, you can do this, make like a more balanced, like, don't get me wrong, Mystic Knights were strong, but I don't think they were ever like broken. I mean, that being said, my very first time piloting Mystic Knights, I did make top 8 at one of the Chicago regionals.
I do have to say,
but I honestly blame the fact that, first of all, during the tournament, I sat across from Bryce, and Bryce just has this notorious lose streak whenever he sits across the table from me at regionals. It's like, every time we play, like, at his house or at my place or whatever, he always just clobbers me. But it's like, the minute we sit across the table from regionals, like, everything goes downhill for him. And then the fact that nobody really knew what Mystic Knights did. And that helped me kind of, like, throw people off. And they weren't really ready for, like, the Mystic Knights multi-attack, and they get, like, 30k power, and they're all, like, super big crit, and they did what they were supposed to. Which also explains why after the regionals afterwards, I decided to play Bang Dream, and I didn't make it to top cut. I think I made like 15th or something when we went to Atlanta, but that was like as farthest I got after that. Right.
But yeah, because we can save all that for like the Buddy Fight episode that I will probably force you or whomever which would like to join.
I will gladly join the Buddy Fight one, because I have a lot of things to say, especially coming from a player who didn't really play a lot of Buddy Fight at first, to being, oh, you're gonna be a competitive Buddy Fight player. Oh.
Right. I have a special place in my heart for Buddy Fight, because I never really, like, I played card games on and off, like Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic, very briefly. The most competitive I was with the Naruto card game. RIP. But Buddy Fight is what got me into card games. So like, I have a special place in my heart for that game.
That being said, if people have Mystic Knight high rarity things, especially the SP Syncs, and you're looking to get rid of them for a good price, let me know. Hit me up in the inbox.
Yeah. So moving on. Um, I would like for our final topic, just because we're at the 1 hour and 20 minute mark. Decks we're currently building and playing.
All right. So, do you want me to go first?
I'll go first on this one actually.
Okay. Okay.
So I've got a lot of projects started because I buy all the like rares and lower, or like the cheap stuff that's like $2 or less for a bunch of for like 3 or 4 different decks. Unfortunately I didn't do that with the D series decks that I want to build, but that's because that's like 90% of the deck, and then there's the PGs and over triggers. But all right, so I'm gonna list them all off, and I'll kind of just kind of go from there. Ezel Percival in V series, like specifically, maybe in the future I'll build a G zone for it.
Gold's good stuff.
Deleters in V series, Chaos Breaker Dragon Premium. And that's it for like V series Premium. And then I've said this already, but I want to build Orphist and Seraph Snow. Oh, and I'm also building Messiah V series, but I'll probably transition that into Premium as well. And then I have Luard Premium and Standard, like I have. And then I'm just more fine tuning my G zone and getting like a few extra pieces that I didn't really think about, because Premium for that deck was an afterthought when I was building it. Because I had gotten a playset split for Luard and V series when it came out. But those are my current projects. I would love to do once I get some more equipment, like recording equipment, to do some deck profiles, especially on Luard Premium, just because I think that list that you and I came up with the other day is a very spicy list that I've seen a few deck premium lists just to compare that don't really have some of the tech or the spice that you and I were discussing. So I would love to do that. So if you guys are interested, give this video some love and we'll go from there. But that's those. I think that's so. Deleters, Ezel, Chaos Breaker, Seraph Snow, Orphist. Oh, and then I gotta finish 7 Seas. And I'm missing the PGs, and I think I just need one more of Columbard. I think that's all I need for the deck. I think. And that's V series. I'll probably convert it to premium at a later date, but I just want the deck finished before I start thinking about transitioning it.
I mean, then that's a fair point.
Yeah, but it's because it makes treasure, and I was really hyping Phantom Thieves at the time because they make treasures. That's their gimmick. They basically mill treasures and buddy fight, and so that's why I got that. But those are my current projects. There may or may not be more in the future. I don't really know yet, but I don't want to have like 20 decks that I'm building, because Chaos Breaker Dragon alone is very expensive, because like I've said before, Chaos Breaker Close is $23 a copy, and it's probably going to go up a little bit still. And then every like 4 of is like $7 or more, so it gets expensive really fast. But those are what I'm building, and in their respective formats. I think all the V decks I might just slap a G zone on just for shits and giggles, because I can. But I don't know yet.
I mean, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
All right.
So what decks are you building or have built?
So if I were to ever play D format, I would probably play the Blaze Maiden, the Armament deck. Just the fact that the new Blaze Maiden is really cool and just aesthetic wise. The fact that her two equipments are just on the Vanguard circle permanently, kind of like a pseudo like Legion effect, is kind of cool.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought that was really cool. I was tempted with that one as well.
I mean, just her full art is so beautiful. I mean, that would be like one of the very few D decks that I would just like fully max ready, just because I would love to see the full art armor mance and the full armor SP of what's her name, Merte or whatever. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But it's just like that would be the one D deck I would play, at least in this current run of cards that are currently revealed and are currently coming out and stuff like that.
Right.
But in terms of V, I would probably be playing Rising Nova, because Rising Nova and the Dudley combo is really cool. And there's some interesting, unique interactions that you can do with the deck. Rising Nova is just really cool. When you can get both Force 1 and Force 2 just by riding, it's just incredibly cool.
Right.
And also in V, I would probably be playing Dimension Police, just because Dimension Police is just really good in both Premium and Standard. V Premium and Premium. And the deck can do a lot of good things, and it has with Broad Black, and it's gonna be really good. And with the inclusion of Dai Kaiser, it's even gonna be better. So that's something to be looking out for in the near future. And then just Narukami. I mean, I don't know how much if I would be playing Narukami Vowing Sword in V necessarily. But I might see what the generic support's going to be for, to see if an Eradicator list will work out. Because who knows? Maybe I'll go back and I'll revamp my Eradicator Draconic Descended build. So maybe it'll be even better. Who knows? Maybe something to look out for in the near future. Maybe featuring DDD Willis.
DDD Willis. That's a name.
That brings you back, doesn't it?
Yeah. That was...
Yeah. But in Premium, for sure, I'm gonna be playing Dimension Police. Dimension Police are just so good. Having access to the die liner, having access to Dai Kaiser, having access to your die prop, and throwing your Dimension Police in the soul to get more drives, and getting the triple drive, triple restand Stark play is really good. And honestly, you have access to one of the best promos in the entirety of the game. The grade 1 that literally says when he boosts, he doubles the power and the crit of a unit currently on board is incredibly strong. Incredibly strong.
Right.
Plus, then you still have access to the Grand Gallop strat, is still incredibly good for restanding and getting multiple drive checks. You have access to one of the best GB8s in the entirety of the game, at least in my personal opinion. But then you have access to things like as I keep mentioning Night Rose, because I play Night Rose religiously. That was honestly one of the very first decks that I built when she came out, because Night Rose is just fantastic. I'm still working on my list, doing some minor tweakings and stuff like that since Beatrice came out, and I want to make sure my list is good before I post a list for that again. Might be here, might be on my channel, or I just might do like a highlighted on my Twitch channel, Garthok streams. Just check that out. Winky face.
Yeah. I'll make sure to throw your links in the description.
Hell yeah. And then the only real other deck I'd be willing to play in Premium right now is probably Aquaforce. I mean, again, I mentioned Thavis because Thavis is just really good. Global Dragon is literally the coolest stride. The fact that it retires your opponent's rear guards, it draws you cards, it restands your board, and it all interacts with your rested stuff, which Thavis was already doing anyways, and it feels like it's a card that's good, not too broken, but good, and still fits with the aesthetic of the card it was meant to be designed for. Then you still have access to things like Valius Revive, which is just a win con. You have access to Alexandros, which is just a win con. If your opponent just denies you Counterblast, or you can still go into your Lambros. He can still do his thing. And overall, the solid being able to flip a G guard, get additional shield value, and then making sure that if you do have your guards, you can give them resist and make sure that they can't be attacked for the duration of the turn, and getting big shield value is good. And then your Giphilia flips itself face down to either counter charge one, or you can just unlock your cards, which is really good for the chaos matchup.
Right.
But other than that, there's some things on the horizons I want to work with. Again, there's the Eradicator of Longsword Dragon that I have on the horizon. I'm working on a list currently. With the interaction with Stun vs Dragon, that's just super solid deck overall. And I might be playtesting with that sometime on tap on my weekly streams and whatnot. And another deck on the horizon I'm working on is Great Nature. I mean, I've always really liked Great Nature. Big Belly's really good. And then you have access to that or the lottery mechanic that Isabel offers. Again, I'm still working on what I want to build. This is probably gonna be Big Belly. Especially now that Cran Tiger got reprinted, so that might be coming out soon. But I want to make sure that I want to get my list set in stone and have everything before I go ahead and do anything with it.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I'm loving the clan, like, I wouldn't say gimmick, the clan mechanic, kind of like flags in Buddy Fight, just because like you kind of main a clan or like a flag, I feel, and then you just like pick up a deck here or there for other clans. I
mean, I'm 100% an Narukami player, like through and through. Whenever there's a Narukami deck, I have to play it. I literally played the really expensive Vanquisher until I became unemployed and I just couldn't afford to keep picking up the newer Vanquisher support. Mind you, the newer Vanquisher Grade 3 at the time of this recording, it's only like 50 cents or something, but Vanquisher, when I picked him up at the time, he was still pretty expensive. He was still like $40 or $50 a copy, and I couldn't
right, yeah, that's a
keep
lot.
affording that.
Even like if people are working, sometimes just stuff gets really expensive really fast.
It really does. So I had to think that what was best to myself, so I got rid of it when they were still high, so it lasted me until then. Now I'm in a better place financially, so I could go back and, you know, bling out a Vanquisher deck. Mind you, I've never really been a fan of V Vanquisher. Don't get me wrong, he's not the fact he's not bad. He's really good. Really, really good. He's just not my playstyle as much as the old Vanquisher was. And I just loved the whole Thunderstrike ability and retiring and binding, and I just loved that, which is why I ultimately went and switched to the Thunderstrike build using things like some of the Eradicators that binded and retired and moved your stuff around on the board, and I thought that was really, really cool.
Right. Yeah, no, that. Yeah, I'm really liking, because like even with Luard alone, because that's like really the only Shadow Paladin deck I'm really gonna be playing. I'm having like basically a like toolbox for it, so that like if stuff happens, like if something does end up getting hit, I can just kind of fill it in with, because since it's just you play a bunch of grade ones, it's very easy to substitute stuff. Granted, it feels bad when you have to, but Link Joker, just because that's I'm assuming it's gonna be my main clan, just because Chaos Breaker, Deleters, Messiah. I don't think is there anything else like V series wise that's Link Joker. I don't think so.
Chaos Breaker, Gravity Dragons, but Gravity Dragons don't really do anything by themselves.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Deleters, Messiah.
Dragons, right? I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
I don't think there's much else even in Premium, right?
I mean,
At
technically,
least, like,
you probably
notable.
could play like Starvaders.
Yeah. But like, isn't Starvaders just Chaos Breaker?
I mean, yes and no.
Right.
Like it's a little more complicated than that. I mean, you can have a Starvader deck and not have Chaos Breaker, but Chaos Breaker kind of ties in. So it's like yes and no.
It usually like if you're I was just joshing you. But all right, I think we're at a good spot. Otherwise, I think we would just end up talking about more, because like I said in the beginning, we gotta milk this as content creation.
And you were over here like,
enthusiastic.
I don't know if we're even gonna get to an hour for which is normal for a podcast.
Yeah, like I went into this expecting us to do like 45 minutes, like half hour, 45 minutes, but I forget with podcasts and me as a whole, I veer off because ADHD be like that. So like me being on topic and not going off on a tangent on a specific thing, I should have expected that.
To be fair, it's perfectly normal and it's not super bad. I mean, again, once you go back and actually edit the podcast, it might be closer to an hour because there was a lot of nonsense we were just saying.
Honestly, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna do as little as possible because candid, I think just,
Let us know in the comments below what you guys want to see and what we should talk about next.
Yeah, because I do have some ideas. Like I said, I want to do buddy fight. I might do something about Commander. I don't know, but I want to talk about.
I'm
stuff
not too much about Commander. I know enough about Commander to get by, but that's about it.
We could like it could be like a noob's perspective, like because I think I started playing like only a year ago, and that's
two noobs discuss Commander.
Yeah, like
oh boy.
I play like. I haven't played Commander in like a few months, to be honest, just because of my work schedule. But anyways, I'm trying to end this. I'm trying to end this. I gotta stay on task, guys. But all right, I think we're gonna wrap this up here, just because we can, like, if we can probably do more specific topics in like smaller bite-sized chunks in the future. But I think this was just a good starting point in terms of like the podcast, just because we're like hyped into it right now. So we just have I feel we had a lot to say. Obviously we did, because as of recording at this very moment in time, it's 1 hour, 36 minutes and 24, 25, 26, 27 seconds. And so, is there any final thoughts you would like to say, Brody, before we wrap this up?
No, I definitely think that Vanguard is in a much better position ever since the ban list. I'm not going to get too far into it, but I think the game's in a much healthier game state. I think there are a lot more meme decks or like rogue tier decks that actually have a chance of being decently good. Obviously, we'll always still have the one or two, maybe 3 good decks. That's just how card games have always been. But I feel like the gap is much less smaller, especially in V Premium and Premium. Than say something like Bastion and Bruce, which are always like one set ahead.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing I do like. I think that's healthy, where like you have your top tiers, but then everything else is like not that much farther behind. So that's one thing I do like about it. Especially now that we're getting back into it. But all right. For reals this time, we're gonna wrap this up. If you guys liked it, hit the thumbs up button. I will put Brody's links down below, and then I also have my Twitch channel down there as well. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at around like 10-11 p.m. whichever time zone I'm in. I don't know.
Whatever time zone you're in, so you don't even know what the...
I think I'm central. Do you know?
Yes, we are central.
Okay, we're 10-11 p.m. central. Check that out.
Your house is just on the time zone border, or it's both.
I'm just here. I know it's 12:30 a.m. right now, and that's all I need to know. But if you guys like this, like I said, leave a like. If you
comment below, tell us what you guys think. Tell us what you think of the D format or V Premium and Premium. We want to know. Yeah.
Tell me how bad my takes are. Tell me how ignorant I am. I would love to hear it, because like, I don't know, I wouldn't take it too seriously, because I know I'm very new to the game, so I am perfectly fine with being told I'm dumb. But if you'd like to see more stuff like this, let us know. If you want to see like deck profiles, if you'd even want to see some matches, potentially if we can get some like once we get like a few decks built, maybe we can start doing those like semi-regularly. But other than that, we're gonna end it here. Toodaloo? Question mark. Bye.
Catch you guys later.